Hello, this is my first try at making an actual video. Please go easy on me. Anyways, there are 20 insane towers in Eternal Towers of Hell. I've increased my skill in obbies a lot since I started playing in 2023. Because of that, I've sort of forgotten about the insane difficulty as a whole. I thought I'd come back to them. I decided to rebeat all of them just so I could get a quick recap over them. This is because I'm trying to see which ones are the best and which ones should never see the light of day again. Warning, this is my opinion, and it might make you ever so slightly mad. If it does, then sorry, I guess. I was thinking about including Thanos Tower, but I decided not to. Sorry, buddy, I actually thought you were a good tower. That's not the focus, though. I'm going to be real, I didn't even know that this revamp happened until like a day after the crazy Ring 1 overhaul thingy. At first, I thought this would be okay at best. I didn't really vibe with the design on my first run, but it definitely grew on me though. Plus, it objectively looks better than Thanos Tower. Something I've really liked about this tower is how they didn't make the gameplay more complex than it needed to, like some revamps. If you look further into the gameplay itself, it's not really anything special. I think that works to its benefit though, because this is usually the first soul-crushing tower people... Wait, people? Yeah. Wait, what? Yeah, people find. The only slight problem I have with this tower is that for a beginner soul-crushing, it feels very punishing. I'm mainly talking about floor 9 here. So you're telling me it's all timed? In most fails on this floor, just flat out end your run? When I was trying to beat this tower, I'm not joking, I failed this floor and lost my run like 5 times. Maybe it's a bias, but it feels too punishing for someone this far into a tower being in Ring 1. It isn't really a thing that'll knock off a lot of points. Oh yeah, they also gave a safety net for floor 10, but they take it all back as like half of the floor is completely outside anyway. Not really a bad thing, just something worth pointing out. Also, not so fun fact, I failed the floor 10 outside and got teleported back to floor 9 one time, and I left the game. And well, what I didn't know is that there's a button progress that lets you get right back to floor 10 outside. I wish the tower told me that. Maybe I did and I'm blind, I don't know. Lastly, I like how they recap over the last 6 stones of the tower since it's based off of Thanos. And while I could easily tell that some jumps in this tower were nerfed when rebeating it, specifically that last jump to like the truss, this tower gets an A tier. It's good, but not good enough to where my beloved S tier towers go. This used to be my favorite insane like 2 years ago. Wow. And coming back to rebeat it, I don't even know if it still is. And well, let's see. Try not to cry, but I don't think it is anymore. Don't worry though, it's so good. It just feels more raw. I actually don't know what that means. It focuses on the actual difficulty of the tower rather than like being long and punishing and stuff. I actually, yeah, I'm right. Anyways, more about the tower. I love the vibe of this tower. It has a very good classic feel. I guess that's the point of the area it's found in, being Forgotten Ridge. And well, because of that, this one in terms of design isn't as captivating, but I think the gimmick with half of the space of a floor being taken up by a huge fat part does enough to make this tower stand out. Honestly, I also love the music in this tower. The gameplay is very fun and has a good pace. I can respect this tower for what it is. Also, I like the decision of making the last floor chill and like almost not failable, because I think it's a very unique choice that towers do the opposite of nowadays. I don't have as much to say about this one as the last one, despite there being many cool ideas, because they just all blend together because of the fact that they're normal to the tower standards. Also, no point to offer this, but I was stupid enough to fail the last tightrope when grinding this. Hashtag T1B fail. This is an A tier, but it goes slightly above Infinity Gauntlet. When talking about towers best fit for being first soul-crushing towers, Tower of Difficulty chart is always mentioned, and I always wonder why. I'm just kidding. It's pretty obvious why. The first half shows no purpose than to waste 2 minutes of your time, and that's only if you know the skips, which you should, hopefully. You also get a safety net in this second half. First soul-crushing, net, and the tower gets harder over time. I think I know where this is going. If you couldn't tell, I'm talking about loop fail. That is the only reason I did this tower way later on into my insane tower grinds. I hated a loop failing. So much that this used to be my least favorite tower ever. Now that I can easily rebeat it now. I think this tower being the worst in my opinion at some point was a giant stretch. It's not that bad. Sure, the loop fail was annoying, but there are definitely other towers in this difficulty that were much more annoying in loop fail. Hint, hint, hint. But that's enough about loop fail now. Something I see pop up a lot is that, oh, floor 9 is harder than floor 10, but well, I can confirm that if the difficulties of the floors of this tower were actually accurate, like, point on. Okay, that's not how you say it, but it would probably not be insane. Well, maybe, but it wouldn't be bottom insane. Just slightly nerf floor 10. Time? Bro, what am I doing? Slightly nerf floor 9 and buff floor 10. Also, I love the floor 9 music. It hits different specifically in this tower. I just really like it. Lastly, fun fact, a while ago, EToH had a thing in this menu called races. I kind of wish they still had those, even though no one uses it, but I actually almost beat this tower for the first time while in a race. I just thought that was cool. But unfortunately, this is the least good one so far. It's still not bad, but it still gets a B tier from me. I had fun with these first 3 towers, but let's just look at what's coming up. So many people make the excuse that, this was the first soul-crushing tower ever made. And to that I say, I really don't care. This is without a doubt one of the worst towers I've ever seen or played, yeah. Sure, it's the first tower to ever use a B-side type gimmick, I think. But besides dropping down and going back up, like, what else does the tower do with that? C-side somehow has a less varied gameplay than A-side. How is that possible? If this tower was just A-side, this would have gone like a D tier. Maybe, like, it's objectively horrible, but I found myself kind of enjoying it because of how bad it was. But then C-side came, and it was bad, and it was carried by holding jump on the first 2 floors of it, and this stupid jump onto a quarter start off an X-Pleasure right here. I guess the only part I actually did like was the music. It's cool. Besides that, I don't really care for this tower at all. It feels like a this is what we used to be, can you believe it tower. Then a tower that people can play and enjoy like every other tower. You would think that after C-side, it would learn its lesson from A-side about being trash, but it somehow becomes even more lazy. You just jumbo around the... Jumbo? Whoa, why did I put jumbo in the script? You just jump around the frame of the side on conveyors the whole time. The last thing I want to talk about is the balancing. Yeah, what in the world is the problem? The first 3 floors, yeah, so let's make them like triple the difficulty of the rest of the tower. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. After that, let's make everything like challenging difficulty. What fun! Another specific but deadly issue is that Ring 3 as an area was never... Well, wait, I actually don't know if it ever was, but if it ever was affected by a holiday event and the lighting changed, like, floor 1 would be so hard to do. Like floor 1 has these teeny tiny studs that you go on, bro. It's like the one thing that It's like the one reason I didn't play the tower at the time, but then I had to do it. And then I had to wait until an event was over to do it, I think. I don't remember if it was this tower. It probably was, just because of how much I remember it. Yeah, this tower is horrible. Don't do this as a new hardest, like, ever, unless you're crazy. Just do it if you're doing a tower cleanup. It isn't worth your time. In fact, this goes below the F tier into my amazing addition of the death tier. Pretty cool, right? Anyways, it should be smooth sailing from here, so let's move on. You know, well, like, unlike the other towers I've talked about, this one is new. I must say, this tower fits into Ring 4 perfectly. I think its design is fine because it doesn't get too crazy to the point where you would think this belongs in something like Ring 8 or Ring 9. You know, now that I mention it, it does get, like, crazy near the end, but I don't really care. I'm just going to get my main issue out the way here. I feel like this tower is a bit longer than it needs to be. This would be a good, like, 15 to 18 minute tower at the most. Not saying that it's ruined by the length, but it gets very long near the end. Not to mention that lots of fails, even on later floors, will take you straight to the bottom. And, well, it's a very long and punishing tower. It's kind of like ToFact in Ring 9. This one has climb objects now. That's cool. Also, this is a very good touch, and I don't even know if it feels intended. It's that the tower frame colors also feel classic. Like, I can't think of any modern towers that do this. It's mostly just random colors, or it has a theme, so you don't even know what the main color of each floor is sometimes. I can think of a lot of classic towers that start with a bright color, then slowly go to black. Tower of True Scale, Tower of Yearning Victory, and that's it actually. I don't know if I have much to say about this tower either. It's iconic as a whole, but not iconic when you break it down to its separate floors. It's just gameplay. I am not mad because it's good gameplay. It's just a tower you can turn off your brain to because of how sight readable it is. And, well, the conveyors may be unindicated, but if you look ahead, it's pretty obvious to know when there's a conveyor. They all have the same shape, and you'll probably see a big gap between the next platform. Kind of like Tower of Holy Flip. Wait, I'm pretty sure they indicated that, actually. Well, good tower. This is my first S tier. It gets a low S tier, though. There might be towers that will rank above this one, but this is an amazing tower nonetheless. Right off the bat, I can say that this tower has a very cool theme. I'm kind of a sucker for snowy themes. Was it enjoyable? Well... yeah, kinda. What? Did you think I was gonna say no? Fooled you. Unless you didn't get fooled. I actually have no idea. Back to the tower. From what I heard before I started playing this game, this tower had replaced Tower of Glitching and Healing in Ring 5 after corner clips were removed. They had to improvise for new ways to do it. This created corner flips, completely different, I think. And the new way to do those made the tower way easier, so it was nerfed down a whole difficulty, and hence Tower of Icy Blizzards was born. I think this is a solid enough tower. Very cool. Haha, get it? Cool as in cold. This tower, like almost any other, gets harder at the end. I didn't have problems dealing with that on my rebeat though. I only failed 4-9 one time. And, well, guess why? I'll give you like a few seconds. Yeah, it was none other than Wide Sam. This guy is pretty scary. He is a pretty scary ice spinner at the end of 4-9. He pushes you off. That's it. That's all he does. There's nothing to really pinpoint in the first half. Besides 4-4. This could really be a good or bad thing depending on who you ask. that if floor 4 exists or not. I'm not a fan of this floor. It's like that one deciding factor if I would get far or not when grinding it. Alright, my grind on this was only a day. At some point in 2024, I found out the tower got nerfs, then just casually beat it. This tower could have been way lower on the tier list if I grinded it for any longer. Next, the music was awesome. It fit the tower amazingly. I especially love the floor 6 music. It's pretty yummy. I really like floors 5, 7, and 9. They all have very nice flowing gameplay. Yeah, specifically those floors. I know, lastly, I like the way floor 10 was made. It looked like a rocky area inside, and making a lot of the floor outside was a good idea. And, well, the final touch of a summit of the mountain, which is the tower, being the wind path, is also very cool. This tower gets a B tier above tower difficulty chart. Wow, these have all been good, not including Tower of Confusion so far. I will admit it's hard to make me flat out dislike a tower, so let's move on. Wow, it's that one tower that was made in Minecraft. That's pretty impressive, don't you think? I think the tower does what it needs to do, and the little honey blocks, pretty sure that's what they're called, made for very fun gameplay. I also think that this is pretty good length of being very repeatable. Let's start from the beginning of the tower. Well, the tower begins as nothing special. It's just your average tower. That's until they introduce you to the honey blocks on floor 2, which are the main mechanic of the tower. Yay. I forgot to mention that high jumps are a recurring part of the tower. Luckily, there's an option to remove these and replace them with normal jumps if you don't like high jumps. I usually don't because they make for good practice on high jumps. I'm pretty bad at them. And for the first few floors, not much interesting stuff happens. They do a job at easing you into what's to come later in the tower. I will admit, floor 4 was a bit of a roadblock to pass when I was grinding the tower. The first few jumps of the floor were a little challenging to me. That's literally it. And I'm also going to skip over floor 5 since I don't remember anything about that floor, even after my free beat. Before we get to the last 4 floors of Doom and Despair, we have floor 6. And, call me, call me nothing, because making this a netted floor was a fantastic move because of the fact that you know that everything after the floor is over nothing but the void. Why not make a final floor to loop fail on as much as you want? And well, also there's a singular jump that's not netted on the floor, and it's a 12-stud jump, and I honestly think that that's kind of funny. I think I failed it once actually. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Finally, we're at the unsafe floors. These are definitely the best floors. If every floor was the same quality as the first 6, this would have probably gone like a C tier. But this is where the tower shows itself the best. The floors also go horizontal. And, well, I think it's pretty cool. The usage of the honey blocks and shoving platforms are also at their best here. Especially the shoving platforms and the honey blocks. Yeah, both of them. In my opinion, this is how a tower like this should be done. Even though the final floors are over nothing and you're probably going to fail them a bit when grinding, it's not a very long tower, so you'll get consistent at everything before the unsafe floors. Lastly, there's a final stretch. It's not that hard. Just don't overthink it and you should be good. That's all. I have seen people fail this section in insanely funny ways though. This tower gets a B tier right now, below Tower of Icy Blizzards and above Tower of Difficulty chart. Where do I even begin with this tower? It's insanely just nothing burger stuff on the first few floors. I'm sad because this tower actually had a lot of good ideas, but they just weren't executed well. This included the little ice ball part on floor 5, and the box pushing on floor 7. This tower just has insanely boring stuff on the first 2 floors. Floor 3 picks up a bit, but not in the way I hoped. I will admit, I remember the conveyors in this tower being hated a lot. I didn't really have problems with them on my rebeat. I think the best way to describe everything before the net of this tower is that it's just free stuff carried by BS sections. And to everyone who has completed the tower, was the floor 5 outside an issue for you? Because this tower reeked of unfairness. This tower? Well, yeah, the tower did, but specifically this outside. Sometimes the moving platforms just won't go near the platform you're meant to jump on. So you'll try doing the jump, then fail and not even get close. I'm not kidding when I'm saying that this happened to me like 4 to 5 times before passing it. And fun fact, the one time I did pass it, that's the same run I rebeat the tower easily. Pretty interesting. Anyways, that's enough about a 15-second outside section. Everything post-net is much more interesting, and not only is it more interesting, I also think it's a vast improvement. I wouldn't say that everything past the net is good, it's just okay. It's better, so I'm not complaining anyway. I really like the direction the last 2 floors take. They start to take more of a purism type of gameplay into it. It's not that I think purism is always superior, it's just that this tower's use of client objects have not really been the best. I also don't think floor 10 is too bad either. It's apparently a recap of all the things that were seen in the tower, but I don't pay much attention when the first half is boring. Lastly, there's floor 8, specifically the outside. No one cares about floor 8 other than the outside. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. The outside section is pretty short, but it's probably the biggest choke point in the tower with its last jumps. I failed it once while grinding it a while back. Overall, this is just a boring tower until floor 9, and the main reason the last 2 floors are more iconic is because they're harder anyway. This goes in high D tier, not the worst, but by the looks of it, there's been much better. This tower is okay. The last 3 floors in this part are all from the same area. They're also very short. This one was a very short grind for me, you know, well, because of short kinda. It was just one day. And while I'm not being mean with this, but I'm glad it only took 1 day, because constantly failing floors 7 to 8 and having to redo the first 6 floors every time got very annoying. That's my biggest issue with this tower. This tower feels exactly like another tower in the area it's in, Tower of Bloodthirsty Kenos. I actually don't know if it's Kenos or Kenos. You get very consistent at a big section, but all of the time comes from falling on the unforgiving difficulty spikes. Now that I got my main issue out the way, I'll talk about other parts of the tower. Well, I think its theme is very unique, being this, I don't know, factory machine. The tower changes its main color every 2 floors, which is cool. This tower's main gimmick is all about speedrunning and strict timers. I've never really liked speedrunning that much. Does this tower change my mind? No, but does it use it well? Yeah, kinda. If you play this tower for long enough or practice beforehand, pretty sure it'll all just be muscle memory. Alright, this tower is absolutely carried by practice. If you don't practice, it's probably gonna be horrible for you, but if you do, that's a free insane tower under your belt. I guess I'll try to talk about iconic parts of the tower. The first 2 floors have nothing special. Oh, there's this jump on floor 2 outside that's like terrifying difficulty. The next 2 floors are better. There's a shover on floor 4 I thought was cool. You know, it's pretty awesome. Is it like a can you tell I'm running out of things to say? Floors 5 to 6 are very short, but they have very cool sections. Floor 5 has these little mazes outside that you speed right through. Right after that, you go into this pipe thing on floor 6. I gotta admit, it's very cool that you can go inside it. Floors 7 to 8 are the scary ones. By the way, this is a weird nitpick, but the tower uses trusses a lot, so why is it during the whole spinning structure when you use a ladder? I don't know about you, but a spinning ladder probably won't be consistent to climb on. Not to mention it's only 1 stud. Like, I failed it while rebeating the tower because the ladder just randomly dropped me, and floors 9 to 10 have net, so it's just the tower's last chance to make you mad. Floor 10's the final test, woohoo. This tower gets a C tier. Not bad, but it's not one that I care for at all.
Yay! Yay!
Yo, wait, why are the text boxes square? This is a pretty iconic tower, and I can definitely see why. It has an insanely cool design for a tower made in its time. It's also a solid first soul crushing to do. You know, my friend wants to do it as his first one, actually. Here, this is what he has to say about it.
Yo, 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 yo! That's me, the Big M. Like you all now. And well, I'm here to say, I love Big Ben Trauma, even though I haven't beaten it yet. Not it's forcing me to say this, but I like the big final stretch of Ben Trauma. So with overall gameplay, in my opinion, the final stretch low key is like just really fun for the big reason. But if I had to say something bad stuff, I'll hear from Logan, because I don't know. Bye, Logan the Great.
I don't even know why I let him have a word in this. Anyways, back to me. He has such a way with words, I know. You know. Out of all the towers in this video so far, this one probably has the best atmosphere in my opinion. The tower creates a foggy feel that fits a lot with the colors used. I also really like the way they did this tower's frame. The tower gets more and more gloomy in the middle, then goes back to how it looked at the start when you got to the end. The way they captured this was very cool, because the colors overall got darker, and the tower curved in the middle and stood back still at the end. And another plus here, for all of the towers, there was at least one point in the grind where I was annoyed by the tower, well, whether that's loot failing in Tower of Difficulty chart or Tower of Confusion being Tower of Confusion. This is the only tower on this list I enjoyed the whole entire time when I was grinding it. And if anything, I think that's a huge plus over every other tower on this list, because I consider enjoyment just as important as gameplay. And while I'm not even done complimenting this tower, the music is amazing. It fits every part of this tower very well. It also gives the final stretch an immense amount of intensity. Oh yeah, the final stretch is widely considered the hardest and most iconic part of this tower. It deserves that title. It's a huge ascension up to the wind pad. It's also completely symmetrical, which is a pretty cool fact. Although my grind wasn't too long in this tower, I can definitely say that floors 5 to 6 were the hardest when you exclude the final stretch. They're like the test that they pull on you before they know you're worthy of the final stretch. Floor 5 has the hardest raw gameplay of the tower, and floor 6 is entirely over nothing. That's a perfect combo if I've ever seen. Lastly, I can't get over how rebeatable this tower is. Like, it's quick and consistent. I'm not joking, I rebeat this thing in like 6.5 minutes. I really didn't expect this, since I never thought I would be like a crazy fan of this tower, but this gets S tier above Tower Vivid Sections. This means that it's at the top of the list so far. Let's see just how long it will be able to keep this up. We are finally at the last tower of this part. Will we end off with a bang? Fortunately, yes we will. This tower is quite similar to Tower of Bent Trauma. They're both punishing, very short, and good towers. This tower has the best design out of all of the other insane towers in this video. Tower of Bent Trauma has the best atmosphere, but there's a difference, you know? By the way, this doesn't really contribute to the video, but ever since I started playing this tower for the first time, the more I realized that this tower and Tower of Rage have like the exact same gradient. Did anybody notice this, or was it just me? Anyways, fun fact, I think this tower used to have completely different music. I like both the old and the new choices. MoTER really knows how to make for vibey towers. The gameplay is kind of weird, but not in a bad way. I really like how they adapted the gameplay to its wacky curved frame. You know, I thought I would have more to say. I'm having trouble thinking of new stuff. I really like the little kill brick wall that chases you at floor 9 in the final stretch. That reminds me, I failed the final stretch. I walked off, but not by a flat side or anything. I just straight up forgot to press space. Floor 3 is a pretty nice bun hunt. I also failed to jump off the box on the conveyor on the same floor a lot when playing this tower. I guess my only complaint about the tower for me is that I think floor 6 is kind of iffy. But that's really it. I don't even think the floor is necessarily bad either. It feels like a weird floor. Yeah. Also, I always thought floors 1 and 10 were the hardest. And it's pretty weird because the first and the last floor being the hardest is something I've never seen for another tower. Floor 1 just throws stuff right at you with tight squeezes, you know? I'm debating for A or S tier. I think I'll go with high A tier, mainly because of floor 6. It's kind of sad. It was close though, and it's still a very good tower to end off this part. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Try to stick out for part 2 when that comes out.